My name is Michael Lambert, and today I'm going to talk about four subjects. I'm going to talk about Johnson's WhatsApps, I'm going to talk about Sunak's trip to Moldova, and I'm going to say a little bit about AI, which is a subject which interests me a great deal, something I think we should be very concerned about, and I'm going to talk also a little bit about Starmer's article in last week's Daily Express. So, Johnson's WhatsApps. Now, this is a fast-moving story. I'm recording this on Friday afternoon. Who knows? By the time you see it, things may have changed. But right now, Johnson has said this morning that he's going to hand over his WhatsApps and his diaries directly to Lady Hallett. Although I don't think he can, actually, so I don't think he's got possession of them, but he's going to insist, I suppose, that the Cabinet Office hand them over, despite the fact that Sunak is so determined that they should not be handed over. Sunak is clearly very worried about something that's in these diaries or these WhatsApps, and nobody knows really what it is, but it could be something. It could be something even terminal. It could be something that could bring him down. Who knows? But clearly Johnson is enjoying this. He's making mischief. Johnson never does anything, as we all know, that isn't either for his own benefit or for his own amusement. And I think he's having fun with this one. And I think he knows that Sunak is panicking. I mean, why else would Sunak threaten to have a judicial review of whether or not they should be handed over, knowing that he's going to lose it anyway? I mean, it's only a delaying tactic. Sooner or later, and it won't be very long, he's going to have to hand over anyway. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. But I can't help feeling that Johnson is looking at it this way, that he has this dirt on Sunak, if you like. He obviously resents Sunak because, after all, it was Sunak's resignation that eventually brought down Johnson last year. And so he bears a grudge, and I think he might well be thinking that if he can damage support for Sunak enough, or if he can even bring him down, the Tories have to choose a new leader. And if it comes down to should it be Braverman or Johnson, he might well fancy his chances. And who knows what might happen. I wouldn't have thought it would happen, but you never know. So clearly he's enjoying it, and clearly Sunak's in trouble. And it's a very interesting story. We'll keep watching it, I'm sure. Now, on Thursday, Sunak went off to a conference in Moldova. Now, when Sunak became Prime Minister, I thought, well, give him a benefit of the doubt. He seems quite willing. He seemed fairly competent as Chancellor of the Exchequer, although a lot of the time he spent giving money away during the pandemic. But nonetheless, I thought give him a fair chance. And I'm afraid to say I found the more I see of him, the less I like him. I think he's dishonest. I think he's so weak. He's pathetically weak. He's terrified of the right wing of his party. I think he's terrified of everybody. And he has this obsession with the small boats because he thinks that somehow it's one issue where he can just bang on about it, and if he can just make some progress, then he'll be able to keep some support. But frankly, I think he's a disaster. Now, he went to this conference on Thursday in Moldova, and it was billed as follows. The conference, it said more than 40 European leaders meet in Moldova today. On Thursday, in a show of support for the former Soviet Republic and neighbouring Ukraine, as Kyiv prepares to launch a counter-offensive against occupying Russian forces. The gathering of EU's 27 member states and 20 other European countries will touch on a range of strategic issues and launch a new EU partnership mission in the country. But the focus will be on a symbolic show of unity on Ukraine's doorstep. So all these people have really, is a great thing, they've all gone along really to give Ukraine some support and show some sort of unity. That was the whole point of it. Now, Sunak sent a tweet from the conference, and he sent a picture of himself sat at this table with all these other leaders and so on. And this is what he says. I'm meeting European leaders in Moldova today, putting tackling illegal migration top of the international agenda. So, no, he didn't care about Ukraine. He's gone there to talk to them about, to put that at the top of the agenda. This global issue requires collaboration, and the UK is taking the lead. I mean, what sort of a clown thinks that anybody's going to believe this rubbish? He goes to a conference about supporting Ukraine, and he says he's tackling illegal immigration. The only illegal immigration is the immigration that we've made illegal when people are no longer allowed to come here other than through legal routes which don't exist. He's just extraordinary. And I suppose he thinks that people will read that and think, oh, he's getting on with that. He's telling them all about illegal immigration. I don't want to go on about immigration right now, but quite frankly, I mean, we all know that there are millions, maybe billions of people who are going to suffer as a result of climate change and global warming, and are going to have to start moving. They're going to start moving north, and that millions and millions and millions of people are going to start arriving in Europe. Our attitude seems to be, well, they can deal with that. We don't want them coming across here, and the French should really stop them coming across those small boats, and we've made it illegal for them to come here anyway. We don't want anything to do it. We don't want any share of it at all. We don't want to be involved in it. We don't want to know. Because that's what the red wall seats want to hear. They don't like foreigners. Now, I do want to say a little bit about AI, because there's been quite a lot of talk about it lately. We've had Elon Musk and Jeffrey Hinton and so on warning about how AI could really be a serious threat to us all. I mean, it could change. Well, it will change the whole planet. And it occurs to me that most people, and even politicians, haven't really got much idea what it's all about. I heard somebody a couple of weeks ago I think it was on Question Time, being asked about what do you think about the threat of AI, and this person was saying, well, one of the benefits is going to be that it will enable us to develop machines that will be able to pick strawberries. They'll be able to identify which strawberries are ripe and so on, which ones aren't. And I thought that's so far away from what it really means, what AI really means. It's a bit like before the internet, someone saying we've got this internet coming and you'll have all those fantastic opportunities and so on, and somebody else saying, oh yes, when we've got the internet, instead of looking up a phone number in a phone book, you'll be able to look at it on your screen. I mean, it's missing the point. And people say we haven't got to worry about AI because we'll always be in charge and we can switch the machines off, we're in control and so on. Well, you might have said that the same about the internet. I mean, if the internet was switched off tomorrow, I mean, we within 2 weeks, literally, we'd be out gathering grass and cooking it on campfires to try and stay alive, because everything would come to an end. And so it's going to be with AI. It is a profound change that's going to happen to us. Think of it this way. Imagine you've got a very big company, a billion-dollar company, and it's got branches all over the world. It's involved in manufacturing and shipping and retailing and mining and all the rest of it. And it's run by maybe a dozen directors, and they meet every month or two, and they all discuss what they're going to do, and they make decisions which affect the company. Do we invest in this country? Do we invest in that country? Do we do this? Do we do that? And so on. And supposing one day they have a new director. He's an AI robot, and this director knows infinitely more than all the rest of them put together. The other directors, because it's a big, important, valuable company, they're all people who've been in banking or people who've been in marketing and sales, and they've built businesses and run businesses before, so they've got a huge amount of experience between them. But you've got this bot on the end that knows so much more about them, that can make decisions based on millions and millions and millions of pieces of information which could process instantly, and which is infallible. Well, sooner or later, and very soon, the other directors are going to start deferring to this robot director, and they're going to start letting him make more and more decisions because he has all the information and because he's so much clever, so much smarter. And gradually these directors will become less and less relevant. And that company that is being run by this AI robot is going to have so much of an advantage over competitors, because it will know where you can get rid of workers. It'll know where you can invest and get better returns and get greater success. It'll know how to expand because it will be able to make calculated decisions based on an infinite amount of information. And so that business will have a huge advantage. And no other business can let that happen. So they will start taking on these AI computers, these vast, amazing machines that can think in such detail and plan in such detail. And so gradually, AI will spread throughout all business. And it'll start spreading out to medium-sized and smaller businesses. And eventually, and it won't take very long, this is going to happen very quickly, eventually everything, all business will be run by AI. And it's not only business. When you think of the National Health Service, you think about the police, you think about traffic management, you think about local government, and then eventually you end up with government. And it is inevitable. I don't think this is any question of this might happen. This is going to happen. You're going to find that gradually, but not that gradually, quite quickly, human beings are going to cede power to much, much more intelligent beings, which are these AI robots. And I think it's something we really have to think about, because the question is going to be, there are going to be an awful lot of people who are really redundant. What are people going to do? If AI can do almost anything, what are we going to end up doing? And that's what we should be concerned about. And when I hear, as I say, this politician on television saying, well, it'd be good because we ought to pick strawberries. It isn't about picking strawberries. It's about changing the whole of life on this planet in the way that the internet has already done so. And in the case of AI, it'll be much more profound. And I really think we should wake up to this. And when I hear people saying, I hear politicians, only a couple of days ago, politicians talking about, oh well, we're gonna legislate for AI in this country, in the UK, but we'll be legislating slightly different than they do. This is pan world, right across the world. It's not a question of individual countries can start legislating to deal with AI. AI will take over everything, and I think it'll happen very quickly. Anyway, that's a bit off the off beaten track. Let me just talk a little bit about Keir Starmer's article in the Daily Express. As I said before, I like to give everybody the benefit of the doubt. When Starmer became leader, I thought, I was never a big fan of Jeremy Corbyn, and I thought Starmer, well, he looks a nice steady pair of hands again, and he's been DPP and so on, and God didn't he tell us about that? He's been DPP and so on, and let's give him the benefit of the doubt. Let's hope he is successful. But from the moment, as I said many times before, from the moment he said that we're never under his leadership going to even try to re-enter the customs union single market or have free movement, I finished with him. I thought it was so stupid to shut that gate at such an early stage, not knowing at all what was going to happen. And what has happened is what it was quite easy to predict at the time. What has happened is that more and more people are seeing the folly of Brexit. More and more people are suffering because of Brexit. And the number of people who now believe that Brexit was a good idea stands at about 15% in the latest survey. Well, that's the 15%. He's absolutely going for that 15%. He's not going to change in any way at all. He keeps repeating it. And he was in the Daily Express last week, and he said, this is what he said. It's no great secret that I voted Remain, but as I went round the country, I found plenty to agree with Leave voters about. So he was in favour of Remain, but he could see why people wanted to leave. People wanted a better health service, better jobs, better wages, more security, a sense of control over their lives and their communities. In short, a chance to build a better Britain. You see, he believed in Remain, and we'd have all this stuff if we'd remained. But he could see that other people wanted to leave and thought they'd get all these improvements and so on. Britain's future is outside the EU, not in the single market, not in the customs union, not with a return to freedom of movement. Those arguments are in the past, where they belong. If ever I criticise Starmer as I'm doing now, I get lots of people in the comments, they'll say, oh, what do you want? You want another 5 more years of Tories? No, of course I don't. I'd infinitely prefer to have Starmer as Prime Minister than Sunak and this crazy, useless, corrupt, incompetent idiots that are running the country at the moment. I'd much, much, much prefer Labour. But I don't think Starmer's the answer. When Johnson went and we all said, oh, thank God we got to see the back of him, nothing could be as bad as him. And then we get Truss. And you think, oh, nothing could be worse than it. And then we've got this Norman Wisdom jerker grinning Sunak fool, lying to us all the time. Utterly incompetent. And then he talks about the deal. He's going to get a better deal. The paper-thin Tory deal has stifled Britain's potential and hugely weighted trade terms towards the EU. Now, what he's going to do, see, this is all a very cunning plan, and a lot of people tell us this. We've on here and in the papers, on the radio, and everything. It's all a cunning plan. There are still 15% of the population who believe that Brexit was a good idea. Those are the people he has to go after. So what he's doing, he's saying we're never, ever, ever, ever going to have anything to do with Europe again, with these dreadful people in Europe. No, we don't want anything. You absolutely rest assured, under my leadership, we'll never rejoin the EU. But he's just saying that to get their votes. See, it's a trick. Clever plan. So clever, most people don't understand it. When he gets in, as they say, his first term, he's going to play a bit quiet. Then in his second term, he might say, well, maybe we should try and get a bit closer to Europe. Maybe go back in. But really what he wants to do is to go back in, but not until about 15 years' time or something. But he's going to renegotiate the deal. You see, he's going to renegotiate it. What he's going to do, he's going to go to Europe and he's going to say to them, can we have a better deal, please? And they'll say, no, you're a third country, you can't have a better deal. And then he's going to try and renegotiate the phytosanitary agreements. This is the restriction whereby for movement of animals or animal products across the frontier, there has to be extra paperwork and so on. He's going to renegotiate that, try and get rid of some of that. He won't get rid of it because we've done a deal with Australia where we can import from Australia because we can let our farmers go. We don't want beef farmers. They can go and do something else. They can go and, I don't know. And sheep farmers don't want them. We're going to import all this from Australia 12,000 miles away, but it's a quality which is not acceptable in the EU. So once all this beef gets into the UK, there's really going to be nothing. If there are no phytosanitary checks, there's going to be very little for disreputable exporters to re-export to the EU. So the EU aren't going to agree to a phytosanitary restrictions being removed. So what else is there? Join Horizon, very good, excellent. Maybe even join Erasmus again. None of this is going to make any difference to the economy. It's absolutely pie in the sky. But he's going to go to the EU to renegotiate. And they'll probably quote back to him what he said in this article in the Daily Express. Our European friends and competitors, they're not just eating our lunch, they're nicking our dinner money as well. See? He thinks they're dishonest. He thinks they're taking advantage of us. But he still thinks he's going to get a better deal. I mean, it's just crazy. We know now, as a result of Brexit, we're spending an extra $7 billion a year on food. And as I've said so many times before, and I just say it one more time, we're not producing as much food now because farmers find it's not profitable, it's not economic, and there are problems getting workers and so on. And once we introduce import controls later this year, European exporters are going to stop sending food to us. A lot of them will stop sending food to us. So there's going to be a considerable shortage of food later in the year. And that will result in much, much higher prices, inevitably. But, as I say, he's going to renegotiate. I can give you just, I'll finish with another bus analogy. Just imagine this bus has got 100 people in it driving along, and it's going to go to Blackpool, and gets to a T-junction, and the driver, Mr. Sunak, he thinks you go right to Blackpool, and the passengers, they don't really know, but one of the passengers, Mr. Farage, he says, oh, no, you got to go left to Blackpool, and so they decide they can't decide. So they have a vote, and by a margin of two of the passengers, majority of two, they decide to go left, and left is to Birmingham. So Mr. Sunak, he says, fine, that's where I want to go. He goes left, and he's driving along, and as they go along a bit, they start to realise they're going the wrong way. And the passenger starts saying, we're going the wrong way. This is hopeless. The road's a bit bumpy as well. And they look at the signs, it says Blackpool's the other way. and on they go. And then there's a relief driver, Mr. Starmer, and he says, when we stop at the next lay-by, let's have another whip round and another boat, and I'll take over driving the bus. And they all say, oh, okay. But he says, I'm not going back. No, I'm not going back. We're going to Birmingham. But then the passengers all say, well, we want to go to Blackpool. That's where we were told we're going to go. We want to go to Blackpool for the day out. No. We made a decision. We had a vote. We decided to go to Birmingham. I know we're going the wrong way. I can see that it's the wrong way. I can see that everything's going wrong. But that's the decision we made. So that's the way we're going to go on. And that's Keir's position. So anyway, I rambled on a bit too long there, perhaps. But I think it's difficult to know what to think really with such second-rate politicians. You know, I saw Question Time yesterday, and Chris Patton was on there, and he mentioned Heseltine and Ken Baker. Ken Clark and so on. I thought back immediately to the days when we had politicians who, whether you agree with their politics or not, you know, are people of integrity, people of honesty and decency, and people who are sensible. People would never make decisions or pursue policies they knew were against the interests of the public at large. But now we've just got this utter shambles. And what is so sad is, as I say, I think the Labour Party got some excellent people on their front bench, but being led by Starmer, I mean, heaven help us, I mean, just really. If Sunak goes, if Starmer becomes Prime Minister, we can say one thing, that the corruption will end, I would say almost certainly, and they'll mean well, but they've got no chance of pulling it out. You know, we are going down and down and down, and that will continue. We saw last week how house prices have fallen, the biggest fall for 14 years. We know cost of living crisis is not getting any better. We've got the highest inflation in Europe. We've got the highest electricity, gas prices, highest real fares in Europe. Nobody's coming investing money in here. Academics all over the world are talking about what a disaster Brexit is and what it's been. And there is no way of turning it around. But Keir wants to get at the steering wheel. He wants to drive on down the wrong road, and what can you do? So anyway, that's what I think about it. If you've watched this far, then you're very patient, and thank you very much. And until next time, bye for now.